Senior high student ako nung nangyari sa akin to. Ang schedule ng pasok ko ay from 12 in the afternoon hanggang 7 p.m. And ang building namin is sa HS located sa may main campus sa QC. Marami na akong narinig na kwento-kwento at nakakatakot lalong-lalo tungkol sa may dulong cubicle daw ng CR ng building namin. Pero hindi ako naniniwala, in fact, binibiro ko pa nga at tinatakot ko pa ang friends ko at classmates ko. Around 7:15 p.m. natapos ang klase namin since napahaba yung discussion ng prof. Nagpaiwan ako sa building namin upang maghilamos at para may masmasan ako. Habang papalakad sa CR, nagpapatugtog ako sa aking cellphone. Nang makarating ako sa CR, agad akong dumiretso sa seat at para makapaghilamos. Pero bago ako makapaghilamos, parang may napansin akong pumasok sa CR. At parang dumiretso sa may dulong cubicle. Wala naman ng tao doon at ako na lang ang last na tao doon. Hindi ko masyadong pinagtuunan ng pansin at pagpatuloy ko ang aking ginagawa. At habang naghihilamos ako, parang may naramdaman ako tumapik sa akin at parang lumamig ang hihip ng hangin. At habang pataas ang aking ulo sa may salamin, parang may naanagan ang ulo sa bibig ko.
And I have a friend in Philippines. He was telling me a wild story that when his dad was driving buses back in Visayas, one passenger, young, very beautiful, like chick, right? Maybe a couple of hours in, the chick goes up to him and goes, "Hey, like, Kuya, can you stop the bus? I gotta get out." He was like, "Man, sorry, like, I can't let you out because there's nothing, like, it was dark, dude. There's just fields and mountain, like, woods." And she was reluctant, but she sat back behind him. And then eventually he starts hearing her sobbing. Then he was thinking like maybe those group of guys is doing some shit. He looks in the mirror and then he can see one of the dudes walking up to the girl. And he was even joking to the bus driver because, you know, like this chick really needs to piss. Like the bus driver's like, "All right, I'm just going to come to a slow." But before he could even stop, the chick runs up to the door and starts yanking the door open already. Door opens, like they come to a stop. She runs out, just running straight onto a field. These group of guys going like, "Did you see her hand? Like, did you see her arm and shit? Like it's like hair and stuff." But even the other passengers were like, "Her back's got balahibo." The dude that went out to piss, he goes, "That chick didn't run away. She's covering her face, covered in burr." And then one of the other passengers, the older ladies, were like, "Get inside, close the door, and we have to go now because aswang yan. They get to Ilo not long after. He tells the conductors and stuff, and then the conductor was like, "This isn't the first time I've heard this shit."
If you're ever walking on the street or at a random place and out of nowhere run into a loved one that is now gesturing you to follow them, just blindly, I would definitely question it. It may actually be a D word taking the form of your loved one in order to get you alone. Story time, this person wants to be anonymous, so let's call her Lila. When Lila was about 11 years old, she was living in Malaysia with her family. They lived in an apartment building on the 12th floor. One day, she's walking home from school when she happens to look across the street and sees a woman standing there that looks just like her mother. The woman smiles at her and starts gesturing for her to follow her. Just as Lila is getting ready to cross the street, her brother stops her and goes, "Where are you going? We're supposed to be walking home. Home is this way." Lila then responds with, "Don't you see Mom? She's standing over there telling us to follow her." Her brother then goes, "What do you mean? There is no one over there." Lila decided to brush off the experience and go home and act as if nothing had happened. Until a couple weeks later, she's sleeping in her room when she gets woken up by someone tapping on her leg. When she opens her eyes, she looks up and sees this creepy old lady standing there wearing her mom's clothes. This creepy old lady then starts to tell Lila to follow her out into the balcony. Now mind you, her family lived on the 12th floor. Lila, of course, screams and wakes up her whole family. They all run in there and this creepy old lady is nowhere to be found. They automatically assume that she must have had a nightmare and decided to brush it off once again. Until one night, Lila's mom wakes up to Lila sleepwalking towards the balcony. When her mom shook her awake, Lila told her that her mom had been the one that had been holding her hand, walking her towards the balcony. This is impossible due to the fact that her mom had been asleep the whole time. This really started to scare Lila's mom, so she decided to take Lila to the temple so they could pray over her. Just a few days later, Lila wakes up screaming at the top of her lungs. She keeps saying that she sees the creepy old lady right outside of her window, dressed in her mom's clothes, telling her to come outside. Now, once again, they lived on the 12th floor, so there was no humanly possible way that a human could be just floating on the 12th floor. At that point, Lila ended up going back to the temple where they did a full cleansing and came to the home and they spread holy water all over it, just really clearing out any type of negativity or just negative energy that could have been left by this creepy old lady. The temple then told her mom that this creepy old lady that she had continued to encounter over and over again was actually a D word that took the form of a human in order to capture their victim. From that point forward, Lila's mom had 5 golden rules to follow to prevent anything like that from ever happening again. Let me know if you guys are interested in hearing them. I mean, these are 5 things that I've never personally heard of, but they're very true to Lila's heart and her culture.
This is one of the scariest stories I've ever read. It was posted 10 years ago on Reddit by an account called A Writer Named Williams. It was on the subreddit called Let's Not Meet. The story is called Poker Face. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this very scary story. This happened in Antioch, California. It was around 2 a.m. I was at a friend's house, safe and warm, sheltered suburbia. We were having a lot to drink, chit-chatting, enjoying ourselves, of course. When you're having fun, time hits the fast forward button, and those few minutes turn into an hour. I had too much to drink. My friend has a bit of an abrupt bedtime, so I had to dodge out early, still intoxicated. I felt too shameful thinking I'd be asking too much to stay in his house to sleep off the drunkenness. I suppose he was either too rude or too drunk to consider it himself. Whatever. Sometimes a little inconvenience makes you appreciate everything else. I needed about another hour or so to sober up and drive back. As fast as time passed during my stay, it decided to drastically slow down as soon as I stepped out of his house. It was a cul-de-sac area, a concrete jungle with the stem of the street breaking into a fork. Alongside the road, my car was parked. The only street light that worked was in the middle of the cul-de-sac circle, about 80 yards away. I stumbled towards my car, produced my keys, and felt the metal line up. Opened my door and shifted to the back seat. Because this was a dark, strange, and unfamiliar neighborhood, I took the leftover newspapers and a sweater in my back seat to cover myself up. I was a little scared. I wanted to camouflage myself and not just be some guy awkwardly sitting in his car, waiting for time to pass in order to drive home. I couldn't fall asleep. The uncomfortable feeling of a cheap backseat bed enshrouded in darkness didn't make the chance of slumber easier. It felt too ominous, and of course my mind began to wonder. I thought of worst-case scenarios, like how the police would shine their lights on me through the window, or a drunk driver hitting my car, and... Wait. In the distance, about 100 yards away, I hear footsteps approaching. The gravel scuffed with each step forward, growing in proximity, but periodically taking stops. I wondered why until it made sense in my mind. Whoever it was probably looking through cars carefully, with the intent to steal one. I couldn't recall how many cars were on the block, but I counted 3 full stops until he was at my window, breathing. I froze. There was no more than 1 foot between us. The car encapsulated me as I lay hidden beneath backseat clutter, forming myself into an object, trying my hardest to be unnoticeable, unmoving, and simply not there. "I see you," said a 40-plus-year-old man in a perverse baby talk. I imagine when you were playing hide and seek and one of your friends tricks you into coming out, he said it in that tone of voice, as if baiting me, like he was questioning whether the clutter in the backseat was just clutter or a person. I didn't want to move or check the window. I remained clutter. Give me an Academy Award. My body reacted by minimizing my breathing so much that I felt paralyzed. I dare not to look. My eyes fixated on the back of the passenger seat. I didn't blink, I didn't move, I didn't breathe. My heart was pounding so hard it shook my body with each throb. He circled around the car. My ears didn't fail me. I heard the steps. I felt like I was part of the car. I could feel him touching the trunk as he carefully pressed down on it, as if to test the alarm, as if to test me. I was in the middle of fight or flight. I couldn't do either without elevating danger. I was frozen and hoping to God he was bluffing. He circled the car again. The door handle to my right jiggled. He was pulling it multiple times. I see you. Same tone, but more agitated and stressed, more convinced that he was trying to make that clutter move, revealing itself to be one of his expectations that it was me. My muscles tensed like a cow before slaughter. That had to be metal against glass. Take a penny right now and tap your window. A crowbar, a knife, a rock, a gun. My eyes fixated on the seat in front of me, never averting my gaze like he was. I was covered enough to where I couldn't see beyond the seat in front of me. I know I couldn't see him, but I can feel his eyes resting on top of me.
My name is Poker Face. What's your name?
The voice changed in a lower, demented and serious tone. My mind forced a visual. It wasn't anything human. I already accepted my death. I was ready to be shot in the head, ready to take a life-changing bullet, multiple knife wounds. Just make the sleep bearable, not excruciating, as you drained me of life. I wouldn't know how to react. My thoughts grew dimmer. I imagined my friend waking up the next morning after a calm night of safe and sound sleep, only to discover my mutilated, defiled, and bloody body hanging outside of my car door. It was then I heard nothing but my own heart. What was this person doing now? Just staring at me in the middle of the night, talking to me, or a messy pile in the back seat? Time froze. The footsteps were being swallowed in the distance. Thank God he left. I waited another hour until the sun showed hints of itself. I jumped in my front seat and bolted out of there, wide-eyed and sober. And that's the end of the story.
Kung hindi pa dumaan sa FYP ko tong video na to tungkol sa lucid dreaming, hindi ko malalaman na na-experience ko na pala siya. Like, akala ko dati normal lang siyang napapanaginipan gano'n ng isang tao. Kaya, alam to ng mga kaibigan ko, tinatanong ko, nananaginip ba kayo minsan na lumilipad kayo? Gano'n. Gano'n ka-weird talaga. Based on my experience, pag nag-lucid dreaming ka, makokontrol mo lahat. As in, kung gusto mong makalipad, makakalipad ka. Basta kontrolado mo and alam mo na nananaginip ka. Pero ito based on my experience, yung pag-lucid dreaming, hindi siya palaging masaya kasi may ma-encounter ka talaga na nakakatakot talaga kung hindi ka marunong makasabay sa panaginip mo. Kasi sa pag-lucid dreaming, may ma-encounter ka ng mga tao doon. Hindi ko alam kung tao ba yun eh. May ma-encounter ka ng mga tao doon na hindi mo kakilala sa personal, pero nakakausap mo sila doon sa panaginip mo. Tapos ito yung pinaka nakakatakot ko na na-experience sa lucid dreaming. Hindi ko nga alam kung bangungot na ba yun. Doon sa panaginip ko, may kasama kong group of people. Tapos naglalakad kami. Tapos ako pabagal-bagal ako sa likod. Tapos may isang babae doon na nagsabi sa akin, "Uy, ang bagal-bagal mo naman. Sumabay ka sa amin. Sumama ka sa amin." Tapos sabi ko, pabiro lang naman. Sabi ko sa kanya, "Sus, hindi naman kayo totoo eh. Panaginip lang to eh." Tapos yung sumunod na nangyari after kong sabihin, lahat ng tao sa panaginip ko nakatingin sa akin. Galit na galit, nanlilisik yung mata nila, parang galit na galit talaga. Namumula yung mata nila hanggang sa naging usok sila. Tas nagising na ako. Doon ko na-realize na pag naglo-lucid dreaming ka, wag na wag mong sasabihin sa mga taong to na nakikita mo sa panaginip mo na hindi sila totoo kasi hindi ko alam kung ano pwede nilang gawin sa'yo. O hindi ko to masyadong nasi-share kasi gago baka pagkamala naman akong baliw. Pero kung marunong kang sumabay sa pag-lucid dreaming mo, may enjoy mo kasi kontrolado mo nga siya, kaya mo lumipad, ganyan. Enjoyin mo lang, wag ka nang gumawa ng eksena katulad ng ginawa ko. Kayo naman, kung may experience kayo sa pag-lucid dreaming, comment down nyo and babasahin ko. Ayun, magtakotan tayo dito. Kung yung lucid dreaming, nakokontrol mo yung panaginip mo, yung sleep paralysis naman, ito naman yung gising yung diwa mo, pero tulog yung katawan mo. Gagi, nung first time ko na na-experience to, akala ko mamamatay na ako kasi alam ko sa sarili ko nagising na ako, tas tatayo na ako. Gago, hindi ko magalaw yung buong katawan ko. pero nakikita mo yung mga nasa paligid mo, tapos naririnig mo rin yung mga nasa paligid mo, pero ikaw mismo hindi ka makapagsalita para makahingi ng tulong. Kung first time mo talaga siyang ma-experience, matataranta ka talaga, magpapanik ka talaga kasi akala mo binabangungot ka na, kasi the more na gusto mong tumayo, the more na nilalabanan mo yung sleep paralysis, mas bumibigat yung pakiramdam, mas parang feeling mo may nakadagan sa'yo, ganun yung pakiramdam. Hindi ko alam kung makaka-relate kayo or magigets yung sinasabi ko, pero kung siguro kung na-experience mo na yung sleep paralysis, magigets mo yung mga sinasabi ko. Madaming beses na sa akin nangyari yung sleep paralysis, and mostly nangyari siya pag sobrang pagod ako. Kasi nung high school ako, yun madalas talaga kasi nasa sport pa ako noon. Active pa ako sa sports. Ngayon kasi sa school na lang. Ang usually na ginagawa ko pag nagsasleep paralysis ako, nagdadasal ako or tinutulog ko na lang ulit. Tas after nun, okay na. Pero sa sleep paralysis ko, kung ano yung nakikita ko sa paligid ko, yun din, wala akong nakikita na, kasi sa iba, may mga experience sila na may nakikita silang mga entities. Sa akin wala akong nakikita. Yung reason din kung bakit hindi ko na kinakalaban yung sleep paralysis ko, yung gusto kong bumangon, ganyan. Feeling ko kasi, yung kaluluwa ko, humihiwalay sa katawan ko, ganun yung pakiramdam. Tapos meron din kasi ako napanood dito sa TikTok, na pag feeling mo daw, humihiwalay daw yung kaluluwa mo sa katawan mo pag nag-sleep paralysis daw. Ayun daw yung first step ng astral projection. Huy, ayoko nga. Okay na ako sa lucid dreaming, sa sleep paralysis. Huwag yung astral projection, bala kayo dyan, kayo na lang. Saka based on my experience, wag kang matulog ng sobrang pagod ka, kasi dun ko mostly na-experience yung sleep paralysis pag pagod ako, tas tinutulog ko agad. Meron ba kayong near-death experience? Yung kamuntik-munti ka na talaga? Ako meron akong personal experience. Nung bata kasi ako, doon na nagsastart na lumabo yung mata ko. To the point na pag nagsusulat yung teacher namin nung elementary, kailangan ko pang lumapit kasi nga hindi ko mabasa. Kasi meron akong astigmatism and nearsighted ako. Itong salamin na to, may grado talaga siya, hindi siya props. Uwian na namin to and kailangan kong tumawid sa kabilang kalsada kasi nga andun yung service namin. Eh, 'di ba, nagsastart na nga lumabo yung mata ko kasi nga meron akong astigmatism and hindi pa ako nagpapa-check up that time. Wala pa ako talagang salamin. Sa saktong-sakto, pagtawid ko, lumitaw tong pick-up truck. Ang bilis talaga ng pangyayari kasi may mga hook yung pick-up truck na yun eh. Tapos sumabit yung kwelyo ko doon sa hook ng pick-up truck. Tapos nakaladkad ako. Tapos tumilapon pa ako. Tapos yung binti ko, pumailalim doon sa pick-up truck. Buti na lang yung bag ko na SpongeBob is tumakip doon sa binti ko. So nung nagulungan yung binti ko ng pick-up truck, hindi ko masyadong naramdaman kasi nga yung bag ko na SpongeBob is nasa binti ko. Buti na lang, favorite ako ni God kasi alam nyo kung saan nangyari yun. Sa tapat ng police station. So syempre, bata pa ako noon, wala ko alam saan nangyayari. So dinala kami sa police station. Alam nyo, hindi ako umiyak nun dahil na aksidente ako. Umiyak ako nun kasi akala ko ikukulong ako nun. After nga ng pag-iyak-iyak ko sa police station kasi akala ko nga ikukulong na ako. Dumating yung ate ko and then sumunod naman yung mama ko. Yung driver naman ng pick-up truck, sinagot niya lahat nung pagpapa-hospital, ganun. Kasi pina-x-ray pa ako niyan. Tapos tinatanong-tanong ako kung masakit ba. Ikaw kayang tumilapon. Siyempre masakit yun. So lahat naman ng pinagpunta naming ospital na pinag-x-rayan ko, wala naman daw bali yung binti ko. Siguro after 1 year na nangyari yun, natakbo ulit ako sa ospital kasi kumain ako ng hipon. Tas allergic pala ako sa hipon. Buong katawan ko pinantal. Talagang alam mo yung pang-artista na yung buhay ko. Kapuso mo, Jessica Soho, ano na. Istorya ng taong to pwede nang ipang-entry sa magpakailanman. Ano na, magpakailanman. Kunin niyo na ako, dali. Tas ako na din yung a-acting. Uy!
My first near-death experience was around pandemic time. Ako nga pala yung isa sa mga people na naka-experience ng first strain ng COVID. We don't know what exactly to do, if there was a cure. That time kasi, we were still researching about COVID. I was with my mom and I can already feel it that my soul is leaving my body and I just see a lot of ghosts everywhere. Para ba ako nagbibilan na I love her, take care of my cats and everything. I can't even eat properly. Hindi ko na mahawakan yung spoon. Sobrang nangihina na ako and hindi na din nag-a-accept yung katawan ko ng food. Hanggang sa nakatulog ako and I woke up na color white lang yung paligid ko and may grass lang na ganito kataas. So, naglalakad ako doon and I was clueless pa if nasan akong lugar ng time na yon. And I saw a golden place. I decided to go inside. Hanggang pagpasok ko, may iba't ibang lahi akong nakita. It looks like a church. And I immediately saw my dad. Ang sabi ko sa kanya, nasan kami? And nakita ko yung lolo ko, lola ko, and lahat ng relatives ko na namatay. So, from that moment, I knew na that's my time na din. I talked to my dad and asked him. Sabi ko, nasan ako? Hindi siya sumasagot and hinawakan niya lang yung kamay ko. Hanggang may nag-approach sa akin na babae, which is sobrang ganda niya, na kung i-explain ko siya, para siyang angel for me. Ang sabi sa akin ni daddy, hindi mo pa oras. Kailangan mo munang bumalik sa mommy mo kasi hinahanap ka niya. Mama ako dun sa girl and para kaming lumilipad sa ere. I can't really explain how. Parang ito yung dagat and lumilipad kami ng sobrang bilis. Pagtingin mo sa taas, sobrang lapit nung clouds sa amin. Habang nasa ere kami, nakatingin lang ako sa paligid ko and I see forest, I see nature. Hanggang nakita ko yung tita ko na papunta naman siya dun sa lugar na pinuntahan ko. Yung babae na nag-help sa akin, hinatid niya ako dun sa condo. And before ako umakyat sa condo unit, meron akong nakitang paper. Pagbasa ko dun sa papel, nakalagay, "Do you wanna be cremated?" I fill up form, nakalagay yes or no. Tumakbo agad ako papuntang elevator and umakyat ng unit. I opened my eyes, I saw my mom. Yun pala, sobrang nagpapawis na ako and yung lagnat ko is sobrang taas na. Sinabi ko sa mommy ko ano yung exactly na nangyari and she told me na nakita niya din yung dad ko. And she asked my dad na wag muna daw akong kunin kasi she's not ready na mawala ako. Then fast forward, dumating ako sa UK and nag-promise ako sa mom ko na pupuntahan ko yung St. Paul Church. Habang mapalapit ako dun sa lugar, sabi ko, looks familiar. Parang nakapunta na ako sa lugar na to. When I entered the church, that's where I knew na I think ito yung sinasabi ng dad ko. Hindi ko pa time, pero makakabalik ulit ako dito sa lugar na to. Up to now, it's still a mystery to me if ayun ba yung lugar na napuntahan ko before because the feeling was very familiar. I hope you like my story and if you have some requests, just comment down below and as I always say, I'll try to check if meron ako na experience na ganyan. Thank you so much for watching.